I just discovered my husband has been pretending my pregnant sister is his wife. How do I move forward knowing I was never enough? I'm really struggling right now and could use some advice from people who aren't in my immediate circle because I'm too embarrassed to talk about it with anyone else. I'm 30 and I've been married to my husband, 32M, for 5 years. We've been together for 7 and we met back in college. He was the first guy who made me feel comfortable in my own skin. I've always been more of a tomboy into sports, preferring jeans over dresses, and my body's more on the athletic side. Growing up, that wasn't always easy. But my husband loved me for who I am, and he never made me feel like I needed to change. I really thought I'd found the perfect partner. I also have a younger sister, Rosalie, 26F, and we've always been close. She's beautiful and effortlessly charming, the kind of person everyone just loves. Our mom has some serious narcissistic tendencies and definitely played favorites growing up, with Rosalie being the golden child. It wasn't her fault, and she never asked for the attention. In fact, she's always been super kind and supportive, even though she's the type who avoids confrontation and puts herself last to make others happy. So we've never really had any issues between us, but all those comparisons growing up left me with insecurities I've never fully shaken. About 2 months ago, Rosalie's long-term partner left her after finding out she was pregnant. She was devastated, and we agreed she should move in with us for a while to get back on her feet. She's been staying with us ever since, and at first everything seemed fine. My husband didn't seem to act any differently, so I didn't suspect anything was wrong. 1 month ago, though, I asked Rosalie to drop off something for my husband at work because I was swamped. I didn't think much of it, just that it would save me some time. Well, she did, and it turns out that when she got there, everyone assumed she was his wife. They congratulated him on his beautiful wife and their soon-to-be son, and instead of correcting them, he just went along with it. He admitted that he liked how his coworkers reacted to having a beautiful wife and a baby on the way. It made him feel good. One of his coworkers asked him where his wife was at an event, and since Rosalie had already dropped by once before, they assumed she was his wife and he didn't correct them. It made him feel validated, like he was living up to some ideal that I guess I don't fit into. I didn't find out about any of this until a few nights ago. We were out for dinner celebrating our anniversary when we ran into one of his coworkers at the restaurant. The guy asked my husband where his wife was, and when my husband said something vague about her being busy, I felt like the ground had just dropped out from under me. The date was basically ruined, and we went home as soon as we ate. I confronted him as soon as we got home, and that's when he finally told me everything. To say I'm devastated would be an understatement. My husband and I had always agreed on being child-free. We had that discussion early on in our relationship, and I thought we were on the same page. I don't have a strong desire to be a mom myself, partly because I have PCOS and I know it would be difficult for me to conceive. But now it feels like my husband's been using my sister to live out some fantasy life that I could never give him. Rosalie had no idea about any of this. When I told her, she was horrified. She kept apologizing even though none of this is her fault. She feels awful and has even offered to move out, but I can't ask her to do that. She's already going through so much, and I want to be there for her. But it's so awkward now. I can see how guilty and uncomfortable she feels being in the middle of this mess. This situation has also ripped open old wounds I thought I'd healed. I spent most of my 20s in therapy working on my self-esteem and trying to overcome these insecurities, especially the ones tied to growing up in Rosalie's shadow. I thought I'd finally come to a place where I could love myself for who I am. But now it feels like all that progress has been undone. Years of therapy feel wasted, and I'm back to square one, questioning my worth and my place in my husband's life. Since finding out things have been incredibly strained at home, my husband and I aren't even sleeping in the same bed, and we've barely spoken to each other. The trust we once had feels shattered, and I have no idea how to even start repairing it. I feel so betrayed. If he can lie about something like this, what else is he hiding? Did he think I wasn't good enough to be introduced to his colleagues? And why has he never talked about his work friends before? I'm starting to wonder if he's been hiding me because he's embarrassed by who I am. This whole thing has dragged up every insecurity I've ever had. I've always felt like I didn't measure up to Rosalie, even though she's never done anything to make me feel that way. But now it feels like my husband has confirmed my worst fears. He chose to pretend Rosalie was his wife, because she fits some ideal image, and I don't. I honestly don't know how to move forward from this. I love my husband, and I want to believe this was just a huge mistake, but it feels like so much more than that. I'm also worried about how this is affecting Rosalie. She's been nothing but supportive, but I can see how uncomfortable and guilty she feels being in the middle of this. I'm really struggling here. How do I even begin to address this with my husband without it turning into a huge fight again? I feel so low, but I can't stand the idea of our relationship ending. I love this man more than anything. He keeps saying sorry and trying to plan date nights. I'm honestly not in the mood for any of it. I've cried 2 times and have binge ate more than I have ever before. How do I live my life now knowing that I'm possibly not enough for my husband? Top comments. Comment 1. I would have introduced myself to the coworker and put my husband on the spot. How horrible you must have felt going along and then finding out the truth afterwards. OP. I would have done that, but I was trying to figure out what the hell the coworker was talking about, and when my husband said that she wasn't here, I basically melted into the seat and was dead silent. It was embarrassing. Like I couldn't say anything, I froze. Comment 2. No, you cannot fix this. Your husband, who lied about whom his wife is the only one who can fix this. First of all, he has to correct his coworkers that Rosalie is not his wife. And he's not a father-to-be. If he's not willing to do any of that, I don't see how anything can be fixed in your marriage. I'm just surprised he's not making any effort to ask for forgiveness. Instead, Jut giving you the silent treatment as if he is confirming your insecurity that indeed he sees you less than Rosalie. You mention how perfect your partner is, etc., pre the whole situation. Through this 5 years of marriage, 7 years of relationship, you've never shared with him before about the whole Rosalie being a golden child, your insecurity, etc. I mean, my husband knows pretty early on about all my insecurities, and vice versa. The worst thing is, if he does know about your complex with Rosalie, your insecurity, what he's doing, pretending Rosalie is his wife and he's expecting a child, is doubly worse. You can't work yourself back from it, especially when he is not even addressing the issue or trying to work on it. He just expects you to accept indeed he's proud to be the fake husband of Rosalie rather than be a real husband of you. ETA. I would suggest counseling, even marital counseling, but seeing your post, he doesn't seem regretful about the whole thing. In fact, the implication is he'd rather keep pretending Rosalie be his wife. Emo, that is a red flag, and no, you can't go to marriage counseling when he's not even remorseful or want to change the situation. This is how you move forward. You and your sister gather up resources and move out. OP, you're right, and that's what makes it so much worse. He knows how insecure I was growing up and how bad it was with Rosalie being the golden child, yet he still went along with this lie. It makes me feel absolutely shitty. If he isn't willing to fix it, there's nothing left to save. I'm going to talk to him and figure out our next steps. Comment 3. Weird situation all around. How long has your husband had this job? Seems odd they'd meet your sister before they met you, especially if public run-ins happen. That aside, maybe your husband has been exposed to a vulnerable pregnant woman and likes how it makes him feel as a man. Maybe he wants a kid and family now. I guess you could at the very least have that discussion. My guess is if you showed up at work pregnant and interacted with your husband, they'd have complimented his pretty wife, you, the same way. The fantasy your husband fell into probably has tons more to do with your sister being pregnant than her being more curvy and beautiful than you by society's standards. OP. That's what I've been wondering too. He's had this job for almost 2 years, and I haven't met any of his coworkers until now. He always said he wasn't close to anyone at work, so I didn't think much of it. So there wasn't a real reason for us both to go to any events. Also, we were more so in the city where his job is instead of our normal area. So I guess that's how we ran into his coworker. I get that the pregnancy might have made him feel something, but it still hurts that he didn't talk to me. If he suddenly wants a family, why pretend Rosalie's his wife instead of just discussing it with me? It's hard not to feel like this is about more than just the baby. We definitely need to talk, but I'm scared of where that conversation might lead.